Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm not sure where you're joining us from and what time it would be, but welcome to our webinar. This is one of our many webinars that we have that is part of the late webinar series of 2025. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you will enjoy and learn from this webinar that is titled Professional Borehole Drilling, the Role of Drilling Associations. We can never overemphasize the need of professionalizing the drilling sector. There are a number of ways this can be done, but for today, we just want to focus on how drilling associations contribute to the professionalization of drilling exercises across sub-Saharan Africa. The discussion will highlight the critical roles and responsibilities of these associations in shaping business models and ensuring sustainable service, as well as fostering relationships with the government. My name is Fadzai Munodawafa Burabura, and I'm a Zimbabwean and work as a consultant with Hydrologica. I'll be a moderator for today's webinar.
Welcome everyone to the RWTN webinar on drilling associations. We have a strong focus on Sub-Saharan Africa today. And to understand the importance of that topic, let's frame the bigger picture to it. When we have a look on the African continent, we see many massive challenges. We have at least 50% of the population in rural areas is not connected to safe drinking water. Many regions are affected by droughts, drought events, mainly in Western Africa, in Southern Africa, but very severe at the Horn of Africa region, where every third year is a drought year, and with really severe impacts on food security and economic welfare. So, on the other hand, when we have a look at satellite investigations and from the GRACE mission, so we see that there is an accumulation on masses. The only mass that can accumulate within years is water. That means that within the last 20 years, since the GRACE mission started, we see a growth on groundwater levels. And with estimations of recharge, we see that every country in Sub-Saharan Africa uses at least less than 25%, many countries even less than 10%. And that means there is enough water. Very often it's not a resources problem, it's an access problem. And then according to the World Water Development Report in 2022, it was stated that just 3% of the agricultural land are irrigated, and from these 3%, just 5% with groundwater. So there is a large potential to increase or to unlock the potential of groundwater, which is available and not fully used yet. So the question is, what could be done to unlock this potential for life and livelihoods? And when we look at a UNEP self-assessment from 2020, it was shown that technical, regulatory, and institutional capacities for groundwater management in Sub-Saharan Africa is far behind other regions and behind surface water capacities. So that means this gap is a key constraint for. Without increasing the skills, training, professional standards, is a key constraint for the full potential of Africa's groundwater resources. This cannot be realized, and I think that's where drilling associations play a strategic role. And their role is to help professionalize the drilling sector with technical standards, ensuring quality and accountability. So they strengthen the service delivery, making boreholes more reliable and sustainable. The associations can provide a link between the government and the private sector, the drilling sector in that case, and for facilitating the regulation, licensing, and advocacy, where public capacity is finally limited. And last but not least, to support the capacity building with training, mentorship, peer learning, and to help to close the skill gaps that limits groundwater development. Yeah, and finally, we can say drilling associations are a key lever to unlock the continent's groundwater potential and also then to achieve the SDG 6. And so that's why I call everybody here who is participating in this webinar to participate in the discussion, in share experiences. Have you worked as a driller or drillers? Have you interacted with drilling associations in your country? I think your experiences are of high value for further development to sustain drilling associations in several countries. Use the chat polls, the SDG discussion groups, and finally WhatsApp groups to contribute, and your input is of high value. Yeah, I hand over again to Fatzai, and I'm very curious to hear about your different experience in different countries and contexts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Ramon. Thank you for your insights. What I just picked from what you were saying, what was quite profound for me, is that drilling associations are a key to unlocking the potential of groundwater. So to just give you an introduction of who was speaking, that was Ramon. Ramon is a project manager with BGR. And we will hear more of him as we go. But he has been working on the sustainable development of groundwater resources in development cooperation for 12 years. And he's currently leading a project at the Federal Institute for Geosciences and Natural Resource, BGR, to advise the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, on the role of groundwater for sustainable development. Ramon is also one of the RWSN Sustainable Groundwater Development Theme co-leads. So thank you very much for that. So for our agenda, we've already had our welcome remarks and our opening remarks from Ramon. We're going to then have introduction of the panelists, and then we'll have a panel discussion looking at the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities of various drilling associations. We'll also go into deep dives of various topics that relate to drilling associations. Following that, we'll have the question and answer segment. And lastly, we'll have the closing remarks. So we want to get to know who is in the room today. So a poll has just been posted. We want to get to know you and what you do. So the poll that has popped in on your screen has the question, what is your role in the WASH system? So this is a single choice question. We want to know if you're a practitioner implementing projects, or you are within the government or public sector, you are in the private sector, you are within a donor or funding agency, you're a researcher or in the academia, you are a student or an early career professional, or any other that you represent, and you can tell us in the chat. So we'll give you just about a minute to just tell us more about who is in the room today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in the poll. We see that 43% of the people that are in the room are practitioners implementing projects, and that's quite interesting to see. And then we have 13% that's coming from the government or the public sector, and we also have the private sector, the donor or funding agencies, the researchers, and the students. Thank you for being part of this webinar, and we can see that almost every sector is represented. We're going to now take a look at the associations that we have represented here. So we would like to introduce the gentlemen that we have that are representing three different associations in three different countries. We have Francis Uzoma, who is from the Borehole Drillers Association of Nigeria, that is abbreviated BORDAN. We also have Christopher Chilongo, who is from the Drillers Association of Zambia, and George Kouma, who is from the Small Scale Drillers Association of Kenya. Welcome, gentlemen. I will invite Francis to tell us more about Borden and the work that he does.
Okay, thank you for having me. I want to start by thanking everyone that connected, thanking Aro WSN for organizing this webinar. My name is Francis Uzoma. I'm the president of Borehole Drillers Association of Nigeria, BORDAN. BORDAN is a professional borehole association in Nigeria that's mobilized drillers across the length and breadth of Nigeria to see how they can come together and foster and advance the interests of the drilling profession, which we do by giving people opportunity to be members in various categories, like the category of the manual drillers, the medium equipment users, and the heavy duty equipment users. Sometimes we go as far as engaging the academias, the other related professionals, all for us to have a viable drilling industry, because the drilling industry is quite a huge one where you need critical players so that you can be able to advance and promote its interests, because we play a very critical role in the chain of provision of water. We all know in the water sector, water is life, and we're in the business of giving life in our own category. So we have various category of membership, like I actually said, also up to the level of those who manufacture materials for development of our boreholes, like the casings, the pump. They're all critical players. So I really want to thank the organizers for sending invitation to us to participate in this webinar. I believe in the course of this webinar, the other experiences we will share and also learn from our brothers in other part of the world, so that we can see how we can continue to enhance and strengthen the viable drilling industry that we all, anticipate to have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. I think Borden is one of the biggest drilling associations we have in sub-Saharan Africa. I think we'll give you more time to tell us in terms of how big that is. We'll move on to Christopher. Welcome, Christopher Chilongo, who is the CEO of the Drilling Association in Zambia. Tell us more about the Drilling Association of Zambia, Christopher.
Thank you very much, and good day, everyone. It's so exciting this day in our conversation for what we have on the menu. You can imagine I'm a marketing person by profession, having worked in the private and public sector. And yeah, I have been in the development of entrepreneurship to women into this country. But believe you me, I was inspired
Okay, we seem to be losing you, Christopher. All right. As we try and get Christopher back, I'll just go through what we have with George. So for this particular session, George will be our last contributor in terms of drilling associations. So welcome, George. Please tell us and take us through the experience of the Small Scale Drillers Association of Kenya.
I beg your pardon. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this webinar today. And we want to truly thank WRSN for putting up this together. I know it started from a very simple chat, and here we are, already seeing about 195 participants already who've come on board, and seeing great people who are here across the continent, Africa. My name is George Kouma. I'm the national chairman of the Small Scale Drillers Association, which is a non-governmental organization. And so we take care of the smaller elements of drilling. And the reason we call ourselves small scale drillers is because we know they are the big elements who are the big rig owners. And because we cannot fit there, we said, look, we need to form our own association to take care of our constituency. Which include the people I normally refer to as grave diggers, and not essentially grave diggers. These are people who are hand-dug well diggers. So these are people who are also members of our association. So what is our vision? Our vision is to enhance water coverage and development for growth and prosperity of all communities in Kenya. Using our appropriate technologies. So we fabricate drilling tools which are appropriate, quite affordable, and they can be able to work anywhere, including places where big machines cannot be able to access. And our mission is to innovatively provide clean and safe drinking water using low-cost drilling technologies, as I said, and conserve and protect our water resources. So the conservation of environment is very, very critical in today's world. We are also members of KEWASNET, which is a Kenya Water and Sanitation Civil Society Network, where we have had great opportunities to interact with other people in the sector, both in water and sanitation. And this has given us a great platform to be able to learn from and just share, experiences together with an organization called KENARUA, which is Kenya National Water Resource Users Association. And so we have had a couple of capacity building, innovative ideas, and living advocacy, including the new rules, water rules that were just the other day, released that govern water in this country. And we have widely participated in that. Our membership today stands at about 160 members and still growing. Just like Nigeria, we also embrace whoever and everyone who is in the sector who is related to water and sanitation. These are the people who are our members, both professionals, non-professionals, material providers, pump installers, solar installers, and everybody else who is involved in water and sanitation. And so we look forward to much more engagement as we continue, and feel welcomed, and let's engage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. It's actually interesting to see that there's a special group or an association for manual drillers. Sometimes there's always we look at the drillers as the ones who own the rigs, but there's also manual drillers who are available, and it's good to see that they are represented in a drilling association in Kenya. So to move on, we are just encouraging you, our participants, to post your questions in the Q&A box. The panelists will attend to some of these questions as we go, and will also answer some of the questions live. But please note that if there are time constraints and we're not able to answer all your questions within this webinar, we'll be sure to consolidate them and then sent through the questions and responses via the website. We're going to now go through our panel discussion. We will start with Francis. So you are part of the Drilling Association that is one of the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. What has been the strengths of Borehole, and what has worked to have this huge drilling association over the years?
Okay, Hadiza, thank you for this question. Yes, I think our strength had been our vision. Our vision to be one of the leading associations in Africa. And the team that we have and the members that we have across the structure of our category of our association. So those have been our strengths, the vision, our mission, the membership, and the team that we have that have been driving it. So that has been our team. So we've been very clear with what we want to accomplish. When we came on board, we discovered that there is need for us to have a formidable association that would interface with governments, interface with the drillers, interface with the general public in ensuring that the issues that are related with borehole drilling, are looked into and resolved within our own space. So those have been the other aspect of it. So our members, our strengths, our vision, and our mission, those have been our strengths. And the fact that we have leadership that is very committed, focused in driving to see that these things are there, making sure that associations matters are properly, handled in the way it should be handled. Because when we came on board, we discovered that there were issues that had to do with boreholes that members were having that they ought to have resolved within themselves. Some of those issues end up in police stations, issues that had to do with maybe someone came and asked you for a particular drilling equipment, let's say hammer, and maybe you give the person to be able to maybe carry out the drilling services, or maybe the rig is stuck somewhere and it happens that a colleague of it had, several issues like that. So when we came in and we started, talking to ourselves, trying to let us know that some of the issues that had to do with drilling, we should look inward and resolve it. So by resolving those issues within ourselves, it boosted our capacity to respond to challenges that are facing the members, and that in turn happens to, boost our strengths. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. It's the vision, the mission. Thank you for that. Moving on to Christopher. Can you tell us about the Zambian Drilling Association and its strengths within the country?
Thank you, everyone. Sincere apologies. Let me just inform the gathering that I'm on a phone, and sometimes the phone can misbehave. But where I left it off, I was saying we were motivated by a career person in the drilling sector, working in the government of the Republic of Zambia. And the big moment is when we had the reforms in the country and gave birth to the Water Resources Management Authority. So the government of the Republic of Zambia was moving to a point of having a regulator into the sector, specifically to bring the drilling sector to levels expected as professional as it was. So we were born against that background. We were in a meeting, and government with the BGR and WAMA, which is the Water Resources Management, was speaking to the point of having one voice of drilling companies in Zambia. So as into membership, drilling companies, our members, and basically the Drillers Association of Zambia is a company limited by guarantee. So you can imagine, and the governance is those board members, put into place by the members. We have almost 250 members of individuals, and individuals are those ones in the whole value chain, whether they're doing geophysical investigations or they're doing things to do with water quality in the laboratory, or they are drillers themselves. So the whole value chain, all those individuals are our members, and the drilling companies themselves are as business people, our companies. So we're driven to the point that we are safeguarding the welfare of these businesses. Okay, so and obviously to do this, you want to try to aspirations of professionalism. And so some of those objectives of the association is to promote and support the interests of the members, raise the industry and other stakeholders. Of course, increase member skills and knowledge and disseminate different issues. Participate in development and dissemination of norms and standards, ensuring the most current technologies are used. We help in the collection and sharing of information from our members. We are the voice of those who are in the business of drilling. So we have established ourselves as such. What is our vision or mission? The mission is just provide water safe, for that matter, reliable for people in Zambia. And our vision is just to promote this professional leadership in drilling and contributing to the social economic development of our country by creating jobs and improving the welfare of our citizens across. So we have those members as individuals, and then we have those of them who are companies. But in the immediate, as we are going forward, what is challenging that we're going through some space of drought, and obviously water is central to everything when you are threatened with drought. We are having complaints about how our members are not meeting the expectations, how wrong materials will be used or processes or the wrong science altogether. And we see the challenge that we need qualified professionals, whether they are hydrogeologists, whether pump installers, whether they're laboratory technicians, and so forth. We have a situation in our country of companies, predominantly drilling companies in Zambia, are foreign-owned. We could be saying few are Zambian-owned, and that becomes a big, big problem. But to do all this, we see opportunities. We see opportunities because our people require clean, safe, and reliable water. So coming to this conversation today and going forward, talking about professionalism. So borehole drilling is critical for water security in Africa, and especially for the rural and urban communities. So professionalization ensures quality, sustainability, and accountability in groundwater development. Without regression, and this is the case for ourselves as Zambia, without regression, poor practicing of drilling, this can lead to combination of outliers and depletion and wasted investments. So the case for Zambia is that the government of Zambia has put a regulatory framework in place so that the Zambia Resources Management Act of 2011 establishes the Water Resources Management Authority, as I've already said, as a regulator. And then into there, we have regulations, we speak to that, promulgated as in 2018 statutory instrument number 20 of 2018 to provide for rules for borehole construction, siting, and obstruction. So we have the licensing regime. So all drillers in Zambia are required by law to be licensed with the Water Resource Management Authority. So to bring this professionalism. And obviously to do all this, we are looking at our environment. How can we safeguard the environment? To do all this, we're looking for data to help into planning and so forth. To do all this, we need to put sanctions for those of them who would not perform by practice to the prescribed professionalism. So what is it that we are speaking today on? I think data is something very important, building groundwater knowledge. So we need to help with government and everyone else to collect data. And we need also to help into all the challenges which are before us. I mean, incomplete reporting of borehole drilling activities by drillers is something which will not help a lot. So that is being seen as a challenge. Today, we're talking about digitization and integration of data and records which we're picking from borehole drilling. We need to be abreast with digital tools to move forward. But what are the opportunities which are available? The opportunities are plenty. I mean, we need to collaborate with others as we are talking today in this meeting. We need to leverage mobile technology and so on and so forth. We need to look at how this licensing will bring competency and accountability. Licensing of drillers and construction in Zambia, as it is mandatory, helps us to get our act together better. And so much for us to say, when you do that, you get the buy-in from the community because they believe with you for what you're doing and delivering what is expected up to standard. And of course, it creates a professional card of drillers recognized as such as those who can provide the service to our people. So Zambia is a case study for us because we think the enforcement capacity of the water resources management is in gear, and that all this is informing and helping us to do the delivery, especially for rural areas, that we can deliver the service better than before. What has been done in terms of licensing is good for our people. It's improved professionalism. It's growing awareness among communities of the importance of having licensed drillers and the integration of management of the resource with all what we are talking about. So what are the key issues away from this discussion? Is that professionalism is not optional. It's essential for water security. Regulation, data, and licensing are the three pillars of sustainable borehole drilling. Zambia's experience shows both the progress and the challenges of implementing these pillars. Regional cooperation can help harmonize standards and strengthen enforcement across Africa. Investing in capacity building, digital system, and community awareness will accelerate professionalism. So as we are talking this time, Zambia is reminding all of us in this meeting that the establishment of clear regulations, mandatory licensing, requires of data submission are important steps going forward. Yet, we have challenges remaining because enforcement may not be at expected levels, but that is in the pipeline to up the game into compliance, building a culture of accountability. These are not obstacles to discourage, but opportunities to strengthen our system and partnership. So across Africa, we must continue to invest in capacity building, embrace digital tools for data management, and foster collaboration between governments and private sector and communities. By doing so, we can ensure that every borehole drill contributes to sustainable development and short-term fixes. I think this is important for us to share, and I'll leave you up to that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Thank you for touching on the strengths, the weaknesses, as well as the opportunities of the Drilling Association of Zambia. We see that you're also quite a big association with 250 members. So what I'm picking from you is that there are several things that seem to work in the sector, and one of them is having the voices of the drilling members represented in maybe it could be within the government to ensure that their interests are well noted, and I see that as a strength. And some of the weaknesses that I have picked is the issue of using the wrong tools and processes, and hopefully part of this webinar can also address some of these issues on how we can leverage on drilling associations to improve the use of proper standards and technologies. We'll quickly move on to George. George, I invite you to talk about the strengths of the Drilling Association in your organization.
Thank you so much, Fadzai. And our strength has largely been on the technical expertise and the local knowledge that our members actually enjoy. And as I earlier on mentioned, is that a lot of our members actually can be able to fabricate different tools and equipment that facilitate the drilling of boreholes and wells across our country, depending on the geological formation everywhere. And these skilled drillers are, as I said, are quite familiar with the geology and the seasonal conditions. And this helps them to be able to fabricate required tools. Also, we have established networks, and this is in relationship with the counties, NGOs, as suppliers, and of course, the local communities. There's also the element of cost-effective local capacity, and this is often cheaper and faster than importing contractors. So we use the local knowledge within the places where we go to. For instance, where we're installing hand pumps or repairing hand pumps, we do not have to, travel the staff across from, say, the capital city, Nairobi, to the rural areas, because then we capacity build them to be able to do this themselves. We also have the practical assets, and this, again, as I said, are the existing drilling rigs, and we also have spares that our members are able to fabricate. And so we are able to create a local supply chain wherever we are and wherever we work. On regulatory foothold, we have already worked with the government, and as I said, and this has given us an edge in terms of relationship. We have influenced policies in this country through contributions from our members where need be. And this has been our greatest strength. And of course, the element that we have a great membership that is quite responsive. What are some of our weaknesses? There's element of a fragmentation and inconsistent standards. And so we have variable technical standards that are either limited in terms of accreditation or certification. And from this, we are working in collaboration with Kenya Water Institute, shortly known as QUIA, and we are looking at certification of our members who perhaps may have not gone through formal training, just to be able to, take them through that training and get recognized. And the other weakness is that we have a limited financing and cash flow constraints. And so this affects a lot of our members, considering that they're small-scale operators. And so the access to capital and credit is sometimes very difficult, but we're also trying to work with banks to see on how we can be able to, alleviate this. The issue of weak governance and record keeping is also another issue, because sometimes leadership in associations can be political. And so there has to be proper structures on how then you're able to put through your leadership in your association and just create proper governance. We also have insufficient training in modern techniques. And sometimes you realize that the world is moving pretty fast. And so when we do not have enough training on the changing trends, that also becomes a problem. And this is either because of lack of partnerships from other, organizations or like-minded partners, and because of different reasons. And this has actually hampered a lot of our growth as members, as an association. And we also suffer low bargaining power with large suppliers, essentially because we are small-scale drillers, so we may not be able to stock items. And so when you go to buy, you may not be able to enjoy the proper discounts, perhaps, that you may wish to have. And these are things that we are trying to pursue. What are the opportunities that are available to us? We can partner with the county governments. We can partner with donors on funding for rural water projects across the country. And so we can be able to design some drilling programs that will be able to benefit the communities that we work with. The certification and standardization program, as I said, is also an opportunity which we are pursuing now. And we hope that this will be able to, create some shift or change in the industry. Digitalization, and so mobile reporting, GIS, mapping of wells, maintenance, scheduling, and also transparent tendering is one of the issues that we are seeing that, is an opportunity for us. And because we have the skill set to be able to do this. So if we find people whom we can partner with, because we have these experts, it's something that we can be able to explore very well. The after-sales service and maintenance contract is also something that we are good at, as I said, because we have people who have the know-how. And so this is something that they do very well. And what are some of the threats that are facing us? So regulatory changes and licensing burdens. Every other time we are having changes in regulations from different stakeholders or, the regulating bodies. And so sometimes with or without consultation. And so you realize either there's a new rule that you're not aware about, and when it comes about, it causes a lot of ripples in the industry. There's also the element of abstraction and environmental backlash. And this is quite because of uncoordinated drilling activities. We have seen depletion of aquifers. We have seen conflict in communities. And so we are trying to look at how then are we able to, address this threat. There's also competition from large farms or organizations and imports. So bigger companies undercutting prices or capturing large tenders. And so this also sometimes, catapults our membership to oblivion, because then they do not have the resources to compete equally. Corruption in procurement is also another big deal, and this reduces fairness in access to funds, access to contracts, and this really affects our association as well. The market volatility, fuel prices going up, parts going up, materials going up, is a big threat, because this raises costs of operation, and so makes our projects become very expensive. And sometimes when you talk about fabrication of equipment or tools, becomes also very expensive, because then, including taxes, you have to transfer these costs to the recipients of these goods or services that we offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George, for that in-depth analysis of the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities of SSDK. So what I'm picking is that the Manual Drillers Association, or the Small Scale Drillers Association that you are in, allows for the fabrication of tools that are standard for the geology that you are actually working in, because you have an in-depth knowledge of the geology. And I see that that is a strength, and that you've been able to establish networks with various firms and organizations that also help improve the standards of the work that you do. I'm going to go back to Francis. Francis, we spoke about the strengths of Bodan. Can you also look at the weaknesses and opportunities that are available?
Muted.
So there are lots of opportunities for us in the drilling sector in Nigeria. Just like the topic for this webinar, professionalizing the drilling sector. So, but I think I should speak on maybe the challenges we are facing. Then I'll come to opportunity, and the threats. Some of the challenges we are facing here has to do with the fact that we have people who are not professional enough, but for some reasons, economic reasons, they are in the drilling sector. They're in the drilling sector where certain skills and experiences are required for you to provide services for the people. Now, there are steps that are required for you to have a successful, borehole, drilling completed. You have to engage the services of the geologists, hydrogeologists, geophysicists. They have to carry out the geophysical survey and ensure you have the right suitable point for drilling. Then thereafter, you must have done your feasibility. You've gone around to see the type of equipment that will be required. Are you supposed to use the heavy-duty equipment, the medium, or maybe the manual drilling in some cases where maybe you have been able to look at things and discover maybe the economic affordability of the person who is engaging you. So in this situation, we discover the challenge we're having is that is trying to look like an all-comers affair. And when it becomes an non-commerce affair, it becomes a challenge. Is this way because of the absence of government regulation? That is why it's this way. But I believe in the nearest future, we will have a solution to this issue. There was an attempt in 2017, 2018 to come up with a draft bill that would give effect to a water law in our nation. But it was politicized, and that was just. So there we were in the National Assembly. We made our presentations where we advocated, that the drilling sector should be regulated. Let it be a professional industry where investors or investments are protected. Because there are people, professionals that are here who have spent lots of resources to procure the equipment, especially those who are in heavy duty category. Then there are also those who have spent number of years in the higher institution, the university, to acquire, the right certification, education to be in the drilling industry. Then there are those who come in because they know the owner of a particular, ongoing construction site, and they don't have the experience, they don't have the skills, and they present it that yes, they can provide the drilling services. And for some reasons, these things are given to them at a underpriced value. Underpriced value because they have in mind that maybe they want to cut corners and thereabout. Because if you're a professional, you're expected. We have what they call, some will call drilling code of practice in Nigeria here, that was put together by the government. It regulates the activities of drillers, though it didn't have a binding power in terms of enforcement. But it's expected, these are ethical codes for the industry that drillers are expected to know, professionals are expected to know. So on level association, we encourage our members, we sensitize them, we let them know that there is need for them to adhere to some of these things that are there. Take for instance now, there are certain things you have to take into account. Let's say before drilling, let's say there's a dump site, maybe there's a cemetery, or maybe there are some areas where refuse are, discarded, or maybe there is a soccer way. As somebody who is enlightened or who is educated, if you're siting your borehole, you have to take those things into account. But those ones who are not unprofessional, they do not take that into account. They go in there, site the borehole, and tomorrow there are some issues. It rubs off on all the drillers. They say, these borehole driller people, they have come and done this kind of work, not knowing that the person that they engage is not a professional. So those are the issues. So in our own association on the drilling sector, we've been sensitizing, we've been advocating, we've been encouraging people to go through that drilling code of practice. It explains what is expected of a driller, his ethical behavior and standard, so that he can be able to provide water that is safe for people to use. So those are the areas of the challenges that we have. The issue of quacks, making sure that our industry professionalizes, we have less quacks. And sometimes we are so mindful using that word. When you look at this, say some of them, probably for economic reasons, they were drillers. Probably they did not upscale their investment, or maybe their equipment. And with the wave of technological revolution that is going on, then they find themselves at a position where they had to be in between. And by so doing, they just look for survival, and they do things unethical and below standard. So we try as much as possible though it's challenging, to encourage them to do what is right, and ensure that the drilling industry is really professionalized. We are supposed to have what we call well completion reports. After drilling, you have a well completion report. Even while you're drilling, you're doing your logging, the kind of materials to be used, the kind of casing pipe, the thickness, Thereafter, you do grouting, you do site clearing, all those things. When you factor them, it adds up to your costs, which you give to the entity that engage you, the individual, or maybe the private organization, or maybe the government organization. But in most government organizations that gave out their contracting for us to do, those things are required of us to do before payment can be effected. But I think in the areas of maybe the private sector or maybe the private people providing services for them, so those are the areas in terms of compliance to the drilling code of practice and sometimes association rule, because we go out to enforce. If we had that water law established in Nigeria, then we wouldn't have had much challenge in terms of these things I have just explained to you, because that would have taken care of it. But I believe in the nearest future, that will be addressed. We have a water law where certain things are spelled out, punishments are meted out to those who don't comply to certain government regulation. In terms of opportunities, we have been collaborating with the federal government, the level of Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and all the relevant water-related players in Nigeria. And the objective is to make sure we standardize our practice. And that has been it. And the threats had been the fact that we have investors that are coming into our industry, and they are coming in to invest big time. So those who don't have the equipment to match up with their investments, they are pushed to the other side of it. And those are the things. So issue of funding in making sure that the drillers have the resources for them to be able to get new equipment, for them to be able to compete favorably well in the industry, and also for them able to improve their skills, spare parts. Some of them, they maintain their machines so that machines can be able to provide these services in various in part of our country. We have a very big country. Our country is huge in terms of population and land mass. So those are the things that have been part of our experience here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, for that. So from what I'm picking from all these conversations that we've had, one of the key things that are coming out is the issue of standards. And though it seems like standards are not being practiced, but I see that drilling associations are actually trying their best to contribute to professionalizing of borehole drilling services, as they try and push for standards to be upheld, and also as we see that others are actually trying to ensure that there's certification of their members so that they can be standards. As we move on, we'd want to hear more from you, our audience. And so we have a second poll where we just want to understand from you what are the most important services a borehole drilling association is to provide. And so this is a multiple choice questions where we want you to choose a maximum of 2 to 3 that you think are the most important. So the first option that we have is that representing members in discussions with ministries, regulators, and donors. Secondly, training and professional development. Thirdly, standards, quality assurance, and ethics. Business and market development. Information, research, and knowledge sharing. Networking and collaboration. Social and environmental responsibility. Institutional and financial services, for example, legal advice, insurance schemes. So we'll give you just about 2 minutes to answer the questions and let us know what you think are the most important services for a borehole drilling association to provide. Thank you very much for taking part in the poll. And it looks like representing members in discussion with ministry regulators takes the third place. And on the second place, we have standards, quality assurance, and ethics. And we have on the first place, training and professional development. And we also have some business and market development, information research, and knowledge sharing. So it's interesting that 1, 2, and 3 have actually taken the lead in these. And we're now going to go into deep dives of our of these topics. We just want to look at some of these services that are being offered or that are available in drilling associations and how they contribute to the professionalization of drilling services. So for this segment, I would like to welcome, in addition to the panelists we've already had, we have Dr. Calist Tindimugaya, who is the Commissioner for Water Resources Planning and Regulation within the Ministry of Water and Environment in Uganda. Welcome, Dr. Calist. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us more about yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Fazai, for inviting me. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the Water Supply Network for inviting me to be part of this webinar and also to share Uganda's perspectives on professionalizing borehole drilling. Just as a background, borehole drilling in Uganda started around 1930, so we have been at it for quite a while. We have closed 40,000 boreholes, and on average, we drill between 1,200, 2,000 boreholes annually through government, through NGOs, private sector, and others. So borehole drilling is actually on the increase because we need to provide water for drinking, especially in the rural areas, but also in urban areas, groundwater development for domestic water supply has increased, but also for industrial development. We are also seeing borehole drilling actually increasing because of the need to irrigate. Uganda have been depending on rain-fed agriculture. So right now, with the changing climate, we are engaged in irrigation, and we are having a number of boreholes being drilled to supply the water. Now, with the increase in borehole drilling, obviously, we need to put order into what is being done. Around 1999, we put in place the legal framework for the water sector. We have a Water Act. We also developed the Water Resources Regulation. So we have been regulating borehole drilling since 1999. And we do that through a number of ways. Just maybe to mention that when we are talking about professionalizing borehole drilling, you cannot forget to talk about also the hydrogeology. It's not just about drilling, because the borehole may fail if it is poorly sited. So again, as we talk about professionalizing borehole drilling, I would want us not to forget the role hydrogeologists play in borehole siting, in drilling supervision. Once you don't have all of that right, then you cannot talk about professionalizing borehole drilling. So we started in 1999 to license drillers. We issue them drilling permits, and this is for 1 year, and we attach conditions to drilling permits. Now, the reason why we make it for 1 year, we want to make sure that we close the for what they are doing. So annually, the drillers have to apply for renewal, and they have to meet our conditions. One of the conditions is they have to submit borehole data in a standard data collection format, and they do it every 3 months. And once we get this data, we put it in our database, and we use this data to guide the drilling activities. We produce groundwater maps. Right now, we have developed groundwater maps that can guide the drilling industry. We have covered about probably 80–90% of the country. So while the drillers are providing us data, but they are also benefiting from the data. They can use that data to cost the borehole. They can use that data to know how deep they are going to drill, the quality of the water, and so forth. So since 1999, we have been at it. Right now, we have about 60 borehole drillers, and the number continues to increase as the industry increases. But also we regulate groundwater obstruction. We issue groundwater obstruction permits. Now, recently, about 5-6 years ago, we started also licensing hydrogeologists. We issue them certificates annually. And as a condition, they have to submit reports to us so that we can know what they are doing. Now, as the borehole drilling industry grows, obviously, we are having many players. And for us as a government, Ministry of Water and Environment, which is a government institution responsible for providing water and sanitation services, but also regulating the sector, we realize that we need to bring these players together. And we are lucky that the Uganda Drilling Contractor Association had just been established. And we realize that working with them will enable us to regulate the sector. So previously, we were looking at individual drillers and we interface with them individually. But when the association was established, now we deal with the drillers collectively. But of course, the challenge we have is that not all drilling contractors are part of the association, and that's the challenge I think we are faced with. It's not mandatory, and the drilling contractors have actually been requesting us as regulators to force every driller to be part of the association. But we are still hesitating because at the end of the day, we have to follow the rules of the game as enshrined in the Water Act. So we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Uganda Drilling Contractors Association, basically to do a number of things, because we do believe that a strong private sector needs a strong public sector. For us as government, we want to have boreholes that deliver services in a sustainable manner. Now, if you have a weak private sector that doesn't have capacity, there is no way you can talk about professionalizing drilling. So we appreciated that. So we signed an MOU with the Drilling Contractors Association, where we agreed that we are going to be working with them to build the capacity of the drillers, but also engage them in activities so that they can contribute the policy and practice, but also monitor the quality of the boreholes together. So we have had the Ministry of Water and Environment in Uganda also established a Water Resources Institute in 2018 to build the capacity. So within the framework of the Water Resources Institute, we have conducted, I think, over 10 courses for drillers, and we're having borehole siting, drilling supervision, pumping tests. And the idea is to get the drillers to have the capacity to deliver good quality boreholes. We conduct these trainings on a cost-sharing arrangement. The ministry pays 50%, the drillers pay 50%. Again, we have had challenges that the drilling association is not having enough money to be able to do that. But we are also conducting field inspections. We are going with the borehole camera, where we go with them randomly and test the quality of the boreholes. And the idea is we want the association to help us enforce the standards. We have standards for drilling, we have standards for siting, for pumping tests. So when you go to the field, we would want the association to see what their members are doing, and based on that, then we move forward together. So I must say that as government, we have the framework in place. We work with the Drilling Association where it's only that now it is inactive, but we are moving forward because we know we need each other. Without them, we cannot provide services. But without us, then of course the industry will be suffocated. So we look at it as a win-win situation. Although we keep our distance as regulators, we don't want to go into their domain. We attend their meetings regularly so that we can share new developments in the sector. They also attend our meetings. So the collaboration and interface is regular. We also have a similar interface with hydrogeologists. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalist, for that sharing the government regulator interface with our drilling associations. Moving on, I'd like to introduce Felistas Kapamba. So Felistas Kapamba is a hydrogeologist with World Vision in Zambia and is serving with an integrated water, sanitation, and hygiene program at World Vision. Welcome, Felistas. You can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about quality assurance, quality control, and standards as you are the client. How does that work as you relate with drilling associations?
Okay. Thank you so much, Fadai. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Firstly, I want to say thank you to Rural Water Supply Network for this opportunity and for this platform. that has been created for us to have this important discussion surrounding borehole drilling and putting up of different infrastructures in different regions. So, like she introduced, Kampamba Felistas, I'm a hydrogeologist, World Vision Zambia, and currently I'm also a quality control, quality assurance focal point person. So World Vision Zambia has been drilling boreholes. On average in a year, we do about 400 to 500 boreholes. That's equipping them with hand pumps. And we have an average of 200 to 300 mechanized systems. That includes the small systems and pipe water systems. That's like in the range of 10,000 to 20,000 liter tanks, and the small ones are 5,000 liter tanks. So World Vision in 2021 came about with the water quality protocol that was introduced in 2021. And this was due to the many different aspects and problems that were coming out from the different infrastructures that we put up across Southern Africa. That's not only World Vision Zambia, that's World Vision Malawi, World Vision Zimbabwe. So World Vision International decided to come up with a water quality protocol to entail and to come and bridge the gap on what is happening with issues to do with water quality. So in bridging that gap, we had to go down to the source. What's the root cause for water quality? Why are we having issues with water quality? So that's when we had the standardization and ISO standards introduced. What does that entail? This entails us having standardized materials that we input into the ground. With the drillers that are here, we understand, yes, groundwater can have contamination, can be contaminated due to natural disasters that can happen, or the area where the groundwater is existing. But to some extent, we the human beings tend to introduce certain contaminants into the ground. How are these contaminants introduced? Using the materials that we introduce into the water. So World Vision had to come up with standardizations that we have to do with our material. We had to ensure that the pumps that we use, the casing pipes that we are using, the gravel pack that we are using, the drilling additives that we are using, all are complying to national or global standards. What were we looking at? Every material that is introduced into the ground has to be certified, at least by a certifying board that we may have. So in Zambia, we have the Zambia Bureau of Standards. This is our certifying board. So materials has to abide, and they have to meet the standards that are set by Zambia Bureau of Standards. That was our first point that we came up with to do with boreholes. Then also we had to look at issues to do with hand pumps. Hand pumps, yes, in the country then, that was around 2001, most of the hand pumps that we had were galvanized iron. This is the material that was used. And we had to look at that as well. Is this a good material that is able to stand the test of time? Because as you drill a borehole, we don't expect a borehole to fall within 1 to 2 years. And that is the case in most countries. 1 to 2 years, you find the borehole has issues, the community is complaining. It has a source of breakdown. One way or another, it has to break down. But that's not a borehole that can stand a test of time. So we have to look at materials that we use, even in mechanizing this borehole, in mechanizing our systems and the installing of these boreholes. We had to look for an alternative like stainless steel. So World Vision Zambia has gone the stainless steel way. And we're also, vouching to the government as well to come on board. The government has been a board that is also using GI, and we are there as World Vision trying to speak to it, trying to voice out on the need for us as a country, as Zambia, to move to the use of stainless steel. So in bridging that gap with standardization and ISO standards, what we do also now has gone further. Okay, now we have the standards. Now we have the certification. The materials is the standards. The boreholes are meeting the standards. The systems are meeting the standards. The materials, everything that we're using is meeting the standard. So how are we going to now sustain these boreholes. Now, that's how our vision now came up with the culture of quality. So in the culture of quality, what are we now talking about? So we are talking about an environment and a mindset that prioritizes and values continuous improvement. So as an organization, as a country, in different regions, we are supposed to come up or cultivate this culture. It's like the way you have a culture in different countries. This is our culture. We live by it. We practice it. It's something that is inborn. So this culture of quality now has to come with the boreholes that we do. Everyone who is a stakeholder in drilling of boreholes is supposed to have that mindset. So each borehole that I'm drilling has to stand the test of time. How does it make you feel? Come back 30, 40 years later, you find a borehole that you drilled, that you equipped, is still standing. That's what culture of quality is trying to forecast. So what tends to build culture of quality is now the culture of quality assurance and quality control. And someone may ask me to say, okay, fine. So what's the difference between the two? So culture of quality control. Quality control itself is a process within the organization that ensures consistent adherence to defined quality standards. So for example, if we have standards from the time we're drilling a borehole, from the time we're setting up, what do we need to ensure that is there? That's quality control. If I'm going to ensure that, okay, someone spoke of an environment where a siter goes to a place just trying to site a borehole, and they notice that nearby there is a dustbin, nearby there is a contaminant. Already you are looking at something to say, this is going to cause something into the water that I'm going to drill. Okay, that is done. You drill a borehole, it happens. But what is the control measure that you're going to put in to mitigate that contamination? That's quality control. Then quality assurance, on the other hand, will look at, okay, there is a contaminant. What am I supposed to do? Let me not site here. Let me move this point to another place. So quality control will ensure that each and every, at the end of the day, the product that you have is of specified standard, while quality assurance will ensure that before that product is produced, what are the measures that have been put in place? And this makes it a continuous process. You need to ensure that each and every point, this is adhered to. And then what are we looking at? What are our goals? What are the goals? Why do we need to have the quality assurance and the quality control in place? This is only to ensure that we have sufficient quantities to meet drinking water needs. That is to do with sanitation, hand washing, menstrual hygiene. If I'm going to drill a borehole, and this borehole is of, we are going to call it, this borehole is quality. This is a quality borehole that has been constructed here. It should be able to give sufficient yields. It should be able to meet the needs of the community, of the people, of the town where it has been drilled. And also, this borehole is supposed to be able to serve during extreme weather conditions. For example, the droughts that we had in the region. Quality boreholes are supposed to stand. And what does that mean? They're supposed to be resilient. So how do we ensure that that is done correctly? Right from the beginning, when we are trying to do a borehole, when we are trying to put up a system, that is the only way that we're going to ensure that all those are put in place. And also, we have to ensure that the infrastructure that has been constructed, it is with quality materials. Today, you drill a borehole, you put up a nice, beautiful system. Tomorrow, you find that the tank has fallen off and is broken, or the tank has leakage. Are we going to say that tank is of quality? And who is responsible? It's you and I, the drillers, everyone consent, and everyone who participates in ensuring that we have quality materials that are used in construction of water infrastructure. So this is what World Vision to do with culture of quality is and has been doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felicitas. That was really detailed. From your presentation, I'm just learning that the client also has a responsibility in as much as we're talking of drilling associations, but the client also has a responsibility to ensure that the drilling associations or the member of the drilling association has put in the right quality, the right standards, whether national or global. Thank you very much. We're going to open up to our question and answer segment, where we try and respond to questions that are coming from you, the audience. And if by any chance we're not able to answer your question within this webinar, we'll be sure to consolidate these questions and send responses via email that you registered with or via the RWSN website. So the first one is to George. How do each drillers association ensure compliance to their respective national regulations in the face of illegal drilling?
All right, that's a very interesting question. One of the things that we do is that in ensuring compliance, we actually encourage our members not to drill illegal boreholes. That often happens. And so today, the new rules and regulations, as has been stipulated by Water Resources Authority, has a punitive penalty if caught that you are drilling an unlicensed borehole, then you clearly face the law. So we essentially encourage our members not to do so. And this has made us to work closely with the Water Resources Authority in terms of issuing out the permits that are required. However, there are many more other inhibitants that face our membership, because when I talked about regulatory frameworks, we have many more other regulating bodies that are in place. We are talking about National Environmental Management Authority, who again must issue you with a license after conducting an environmental impact assessment. And also the county governments, various county governments also, stipulate in their bylaws that you must obtain drilling permits from them. And this sometimes becomes very costly. But to sum it up, we try and work very closely with these authorities, and also, of course, put in the integrity element or integrity policy in our association to guide our membership so that they do not practice illegal drilling.
Thank you for that response, George. Moving on to the next question, and this one is directed to Christopher. So what was the process like for forming your drilling association, and what changes have you seen in borehole success rate after the association's formation?
Right, thank you very much. So the processes for us, in Zambia, you have two options of getting to organize yourselves in the industry to become an association. Like I said, ours is unique. It's a company limited by a guarantee. So members are in companies that are driven by the business models which are there for them. But also, one would go to the registrar of societies and register an association, just like you have NGOs and other civil society organizations, and people are free to do that, to get that done, to have an association form. Just to share with everyone else again, ours was, I am founder of my company, Total Water Solutions, and as the government was saying, they needed one voice of drilling companies, and also they needed some professionalism in there and sanity in the industry. We were congregated, if you like, by the ministry and other stakeholders and spoken to. And that was the motivation, because government of the day was increasingly concerned about the practices. And we were just proactive. For me personally, I was just proactive, got colleagues in the drilling sector, and we decided we could form it as an association, but as a company limited by guarantee. So as a company limited guarantee, it's normal how many? 2 directors up to 50 can form a company and so on. But we see lessons from other countries of how maybe in West Africa, associations formed in East Africa and so forth. What has this done? We moved together with the government of the Republic of Zambia to get the regime for regulatory purposes, we moved with the government of Zambia. So if you like, we are in an understanding with the government of the Republic of Zambia to say we must promote this professionalism and we must promote any other groups which would want to form themselves into an organization. So the changes which have come is that as we started the licensing, we have seen more numbers of our drilling companies complying to say you can't practice, you can't do this business in Zambia unless you are licensed. So we have helped government of the Republic of Zambia to get as many of our members licensed for that matter. Now, even for the manual drilling, so in Zambia we have classes, the list of those are in class D. So A, B, C, D, the D are those who are doing manual drilling. The very modest of doing manual drilling as you understand and you know it. So the changes are that we have had more drilling companies licensed, and we can see the performance of these drilling companies in terms of the quality of boreholes which are coming. Felicitas she's spoken to the aspect to do with standards and quality, materials and everything, technology and so on and so forth, and looking at the environment. So we encourage our members to subscribe to those standards. I mean, right pipes must be used, right gravel packs must be used. Instant testing of water as you drill to check the quality. So in all this, we are seeing an upswing into compliance to the regulations which stand in the country today. And we are working together with the Water Resources Management Authority to enforce that. So we can be saying, once upon a time, we have been in court on behalf of our members because they have not delivered a customer's complaint. And we want to mitigate and be in between there. And most importantly, for us, the greatest part of it, for what we've done in this country, is to get our citizens to understand the science and the technology. Drilling is not a cheap business. And we know that when you drill a borehole, you want it to last for 20 years, 30 years. It's an estimate. So the changes which have been made speak to adherence to standards, speak to being self-regulatory. We are self-regulated in Zambia, as Drillers Association of Zambia. We speak to one another as members. Oh, you didn't do that job very well, and people will be looking at you and say, well, what can we do to help you? So we speak to capacity building. As we do more capacity building for our people, as members as they are, we are seeing the change into compliance. To speak to, do not get your practices contaminate the water. To speak to, do not get your practices to deplete the water. So we are there, and I can say safely that so far we have had some of our members sanctioned for bad practices, we would say, but the greater part of it is that professionalism is picking up in Zambia for our drilling companies, and we're happy to report that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christopher, for that. Moving quickly, a question for Dr. Calist. Just briefly, in a minute, what strategies can be used to encourage drilling contractors of Uganda to join UDCA?
Yeah, thank you very much. We have been discussing this issue with the Drillers Association. First of all, we recognize as government that associations are voluntary, and members join an association because they see value. So as government, we can't force people to join an association. It is not legally provided. The association is to ensure that they provide incentives for the members. We have in Uganda some big companies, we have smaller companies. The smaller companies fear that the big companies are trying to swallow them. And sometimes they ask for annual fee, which the smaller companies are saying it is too much for them to pay. So I've asked them, can you give an incentive for them to actually join? But we have also been conducting trainings through the association, meaning that if you are not a member of the association, you are going to pay for yourselves, for your people. But we have also given ourselves time. We have said within the next 2 years, no driller will be allowed to practice in Uganda unless he has a certificate, a completion certificate issued by our institute. So we are trying gradually to provide mechanisms through which the members can join, but also we feel that as a government, we don't want to suffocate the industry. We need to make sure that we regulate them, but to ensure that they get value. But also we are also discussing with the Drillers Association to ensure that They help their members to get maybe access to financial services so that the value is seen. So we are working with them in that regard. It's not easy, but we are hearing what others are doing. Maybe we'll see what we can do better. But as government, we have to play a fair game. We don't want to suffocate anybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalist. To our audience, thank you so much for being so engaged and having so many questions for us. Unfortunately, our panelists have not been able to answer all the questions due to time restraints, but we are thankful for all that you've done. One of the key things that I just want to highlight is one point that has been said is that strong private sector needs strong public sector. So we hope that this has been a fruitful one. I'll hand over to Ramon for the closing remarks and also wrapping up.
Thank you, Fatai, for giving me the last words. Let me thank all speakers and participants, first of all, for bringing such valuable insights of their daily work and their experiences. And I think we have seen quite diversity of experience based on their location and also the context they work in. I think we have seen some key takeaways. At least the drilling associations can significantly improve the quality and sustainability of groundwater development. That the professionalization of the drilling sector is very essential to unlock the potential of Africa's groundwater potential, and therefore the drilling associations are a key player. So then the building strong associations is at least a practicable and scalable approach to improve the sector performance, and collaboration within countries across the region, but also globally, here within this group, for example, in the water supply network is very crucial. Let me call for some action to invite all the participants to share their experience as drillers, as working with drillers, supporting or building associations, to continue this discussion in the WhatsApp group. You see here the link. Please join us in that WhatsApp group. I think each experience from wherever you are is of high value and can help to sustain associations and improve these associations and the drilling sector. Yeah, and finally, I would like to thank all the organizers of this webinar, the speakers, attendees, for their time and their contributions here. I express my appreciation for the commitment to improve the groundwater services, and herewith I formally close that session and wish everyone a productive work afternoon and week. And I hand over for very last words to Patsas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ramon. Just to remind everyone, this is part of a series of the late webinar series of 2025. So we still have other webinars that are coming up. And just coming up is the RWSN annual network meeting that is scheduled for the 2nd of December. And we have 2 rounds noted on the slide. And then we also have the Stop the Rot webinar on the 9th of December that's focusing on rapid corrosion of hand pumps. And the question is, can we finally address this issue? So let us meet for these webinars that are still upcoming. And just to remind you that recording for this particular webinar will be available on the RWSN website, including other webinars that have been previously conducted. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, good afternoon, and a good day.